This is a stimulus update and daily news report. Got some important update to share with you. President Biden's stimulus executive order is stalled and blocked at the moment. It's going to the Supreme Court again. I'll give you the details on that. President Biden gave a speech about what is going on with inflation, how to fix it, and he blamed inflation on the war of Iraq. Don't want to miss what he said there, and then I'll give you some other important updates as well. Hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday. If you appreciate the fact-based, fast-paced updates, hit the like button down below and subscribe to the channel for more daily, straight-to-the-point updates on financial matters that matter to you. And I'm giving out $200 checks to my subscribers. Details down in the description below to sign up for that. All right, so let's get into it. Supreme Court asked again to intervene in Biden's student loan forgiveness. So not going according to plan to President Biden. His stimulus executive order giving $10,000 to $20,000 for student loan forgiveness was held up in Supreme Court, and now it's held up in Supreme Court again due to the legality of whether or not President Biden has the power to do so. So we're going to see what happens with that. If you are waiting for student loan forgiveness, nothing yet. You could still sign up, but we don't know if it's actually going to happen. And be aware of scammers. Scammers try to take advantage of people applying for student loan forgiveness or stimulus, or just the scammers down in the comment section below this video. If you see a logo with the wise flies, like this right here, that is not me, that is someone else. I would never ask for your information, never ask you to contact me on WhatsApp. Same goes for other YouTubers. Don't give any other YouTubers in the comments section your personal information or try to, contact them elsewhere. So just be aware of that in general. And then President Biden, latest gaffe, Biden blasted for blaming high inflation on war in Iraq, confusion where his son died. This is just sad. So yeah, basically President Biden had another one of his moments. So basically what he said here is inflation is a worldwide problem right now because of war in Iraq and the impact on oil of what Russia's doing. I mean, excuse me, the war in Ukraine, I'm thinking of Iraq because that's where my son died, because he died. But his son did fight in Iraq, but then he supposedly died of cancer in Maryland. So, I don't know, really confusing there. But take a look at what President Biden has to say about that and a few other things.
We're dealing with, for a whole second, inflation is a worldwide problem right now because of a war in Iraq and the impact on oil and what Russia's doing. The war in Ukraine. And thinking of Iraq because that's where my son died. Because he died. But the point is that that's why it's up. We have the lowest inflation rate of almost any major country in the world. We've done a lot to try to take it under control. I've released millions of barrels of oil from our Strategic Petroleum Reserve, keeping the price down. It's down about $1.25 and going down. It needs to go more. But they talk about inflation all the time. What in God's name? And they ask why I call this the Inflation Reduction Act. If you have to take a prescription that costs you an arm and a leg, and I reduce that, and you don't have to pay as much, it reduces your cost of living. It reduces inflation in your paycheck.
What are your thoughts there? Honest mistake to call it the war in Iraq. He did correct himself, war in Ukraine, but talking about a son, I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on that. Is President Biden fit for a second term? Let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments below. Also, President Biden issues a warning as he accuses oil and gas companies of war profiteering off Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Basically, I shared that speech in yesterday's video talking about how he's threatening companies with a big tax if they don't bring down the price of gas. So, pointed out, oil companies are making $9 billion, $15 billion profits for a quarter, but yet the gas prices are still high. So kind of like what's going on there. But here is the rebuttal to that from the Republican perspective.
Want to go to Oklahoma now, in Oklahoma City, where you'll find the governor of that state. He has a comfortable lead in the polls right now to hang on to that job. His name is Kevin Stitt, of course, the Republican Oklahoma governor. Governor, very good to have you. You've seen, sir, what's going on, the battle back and forth, but not only for governor's mansions, including your own, but state houses across the country. A lot of interest in, a midterm election year. Governor races generally have that kind of allure, regardless of when they are. But the big issue in your state, energy has come front and center. Could you explain how that is sort of resonating with voters?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me on. You know, when I think about the President of the United States trying to have an energy independence policy, every president since 1973 has had an energy independence policy. That's what we don't understand in Oklahoma is why are you trying to stamp out the oil and gas industry and then beg Russia or OPEC to produce more oil? It doesn't make common sense to us. When we have Oklahoma companies and North Dakota and Pennsylvania and Texas, that we need to meet the needs of Americans with our own resources. And that's what we push in Oklahoma. And by the way, I love explaining this in Oklahoma. We're number 4 in oil production, number 3 in natural gas, but we're also number 2 in wind energy. We need more of everything in America, more of everything in Oklahoma. And Oklahoma is leading the way, and we've got some of the cheapest electricity cost and most reliable energy grid in the entire country. And Washington, D.C. needs to take some pointers from the common sense approach from Oklahoma.
Well, both parties have sometimes found your position intriguing, Governor. You're all in on everything. Whatever we have here, exploit it here, leverage it here. And that appeals to a number of people. But having said that, what did you think of the president once again going after the oil companies, saying that they've been making way too much money, that maybe that they need a windfall profits tax, maybe we have to go after them? Your thoughts?
Well, first off, you know, God help us when we start attacking certain industries just because they're making you know, a profit, which they should. They have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders, and it's just unbelievable. We believe in capitalism and free markets, and that's why when the heavy-handed of the government tries to put their thumb on the scale and move the needle, all they're doing is costing average Americans more at the gas pump, more at the grocery store. You can see it in 40-year high inflation. So this nonsense about trying to do a windfall tax on this industry, tomorrow it's a different industry, and this should not go on. And it's the liberal Democratic Party and the President Biden's party that proposes this nonsense. We're still a capitalist society. Socialism does not work. And President Biden needs to think about that before he makes those type of offhanded comments that aren't going to work. That's why Americans need to get out to vote. We need to make sure that we let our voices be heard and we regain the House and the Senate and put some pressure and bring some common sense back to Washington, D.C.
You know, how does it fall for you then, Governor? I mean, you've been leading a jobs boom going on in Oklahoma and, of course, some incentives to get still more jobs. But the president says it's what he is doing on the national level, this backdrop of job gains, and I guess they're expecting 200,000 more on Friday when we get the September reports or the October report, I apologize, that he's the reason for that, not you. What do you think?
Well, you can look and you can see where people are moving from. Right now, Oklahoma is number 11 in the country, not per capita, but true numbers of people moving to our state. And I get the number 1 state we're getting people from is California. And when I meet those people, they tell me, Governor, it is because of your pro-business, pro-freedom policies. We're taxed at 13% in California. Oklahoma I have a plan to actually zero out our income tax over the next decade. And so people are moving to places that aren't shutting their schools down. And they don't have the heavy hand of government trying to dictate and mandate every part of their lives. I tell all of my regulatory bodies that we are clear with the rules, but we let businesses go compete. We never play gotcha. I'm trying to deregulate those things. And ultimately, we believe in lower taxes, smaller government, less regulation. And that's the reason people are moving to our state.
What are your thoughts on that? Do you agree with the Republican perspective there from Governor of Missouri or of Oklahoma? Let me know your thoughts on that. And that is all the news that I have for you today to hopefully cheer you up a bit. Here's my daughter Bella's tip of the day.
Hi guys, this is Bella. This is the tip of the day. Do you like my stress ball? You squeeze it and then you feel better. So I'm gonna tell you one thing you should do. Do the things that you want to do because you only have one life. Do you know how I come up with all these good positive words? My mom and dad always do meditation, and it says a lot of positive words. So that's where I got the positive words for. So you guys can be happy, and I can be happy making these tip of the day for you. That's why I do that. It's Bella.
Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate your support. So it did go to the orthopedist yesterday for my ankle. Still doesn't know what's going on. So I actually have an MRI scheduled today. And then I won't know for sure what's going on until a week from today with the follow-up doctor appointment. So I'll keep you updated with that. Until then, I'm still immobilized. He said don't put any weight on it, can't rest or can't put any weight at all, have to keep it completely off the ground. So that's what I'm trying to do, doing the whole rice thing, rest, ice, compression, elevation. Anyways, hopefully you have a great rest of your day. If you want to check out any of my other videos on my other channels, click right up here. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care, be safe. Thank you for watching.